As preppers, we put a lot of time, energy, and money into our gear and emergency supplies, and a big fear for a lot of us is going through all that trouble only for the government to come and take our stuff when we finally need to use it. And the scary thing about that is that there is some precedent for that happening. Over the years, there have been situations where local, state, and federal governments have either taken certain things or have ordered for them to be handed over. So today we're going to talk about the types of items that would most likely be confiscated. We're also going to go over the different statutes and orders that the government would use as justification for doing that, and also ways that you can protect yourself and your supplies. So there are a few different laws and executive orders that deal with the government either seizing infrastructure or supplies of certain items. First up, there's the Defense Production Act of 1950. To put this in a little bit of historical perspective, this was around a year, give or take, after the Soviets tested their first nuclear weapon. So there was a very real fear that nuclear war was going to break out between the United States and the Soviet Union, and the government wanted to be able to take over certain things to be sure more or less they could keep the war effort and society as a whole up and running. The Defense Production Act basically gives the government the ability to expand industrial capacity and allocate certain materials. So companies could be forced to enter into contracts, and also the government can decide where certain things go, which could reduce availability of certain things on the civilian market. Now, the part of that act that preppers tend to worry about most is the part that deals with hoarding. It more or less prohibits individuals from having more of designated items than what it considers reasonable for personal, home, or business use. And the way that that's written really gives the government a whole lot of leeway. It makes it really flexible for them. So there's no criteria that determines what reasonable could be. Now, right now, FEMA encourages everybody to have 2 weeks of supplies in their home to deal with different kinds of emergencies. So if you're just starting out and you'll have a 2 week supply, then you're probably not in any danger. But if you have several months worth of food saved up, along with the ability to grow additional food, maybe you have a large garden, you have a bunch of livestock, then that's probably where you start to enter that gray zone. Then there's the Stafford Act, which was passed in 1988, and it's more or less a revamp of the Disaster Relief Act of 1974. This is the one that allows the president to declare either a disaster or an emergency in a particular area and then send FEMA coordinated aid into it. When that happens, there's going to be government contracts on things like generators, fuel services, debris equipment, and bottled water, food, and all that other mess. And the things that are going to get priority for that are going to be critical infrastructure, hospitals, relief workers, and stuff like that. So that could mean scarcity or delays for individuals getting those things. Then after that is Executive Order 13603 from 2012, which gives the Secretary of Agriculture a ton of authority over food resources. It gives them the ability to control and even seize all commodities and products that can be ingested by humans or animals, and the purpose of that is to allegedly promote national defense. And it's also important to consider that additional executive orders could be passed in the middle of an emergency or disaster, which could make it easier for the government to get a hold of your stuff. Those would probably be faced with legal challenges, but by the time that all of that's said and done, a lot of people could have their stuff taken from them, and being vindicated a couple years later isn't really going to do them that much good. It's one of those situations, unfortunately, where might makes right. So there could be a lot of potential for abuse there. But one thing that I think about that you don't really hear discussed a lot on videos like this is potential threats from local, county, or state governments. Bottom line is that those folks are way more likely to know about stuff that you have through word of mouth than an out-of-state FEMA worker will. While I try not to base too many of my preps on things like movies and television, there was a very good docudrama put out several years back called After Armageddon, and there was a part in that where there was a local sheriff that more or less took over an entire community. He was allocating food resources, meals were at a set time for everybody, and it isn't out of the realm of possibility for something like that to happen. I could definitely see a situation where a local sheriff comes up to somebody and says, "Well, Bob, we know that you have this big fuel tank on your property, and we're having an awful hard time keeping our county equipment working, things like fire trucks, things that everybody needs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take your fuel because we know that you have it. And man, we sure do hope that you work with us on it, but if you don't, then we can take you out of here in either cuffs or a bag." As scary as that is, I could actually see something like that happening in some places. But as far as actual individual items that could be confiscated, first off, we have gold. And that was actually done in 1933 under Executive Order 6102. That's where FDR ordered American citizens to hand over most of their privately held gold to the Federal Reserve to help combat the Great Depression. And that's one of those things where if it happened once, it could happen again. And if the government deemed it necessary, they could also go after things like silver and platinum as well. And even if they don't necessarily order everybody to turn their gold in, they can make ownership of that gold a lot more difficult through taxes or forcing purchases to happen through things like central bank digital currencies. Then another thing to think about is that tracking privately held gold is probably a lot easier now than it would have been in 1933. During that executive order in 1933, a lot of people just didn't comply, but with modern technology and how traceable pretty much everything is nowadays, there's a good chance that the federal government would have a lot more success at securing that gold than they did back in the 30s. Then after that, another big one is firearms and ammunition. We actually saw this happen in 2005 during Hurricane Katrina, where the government in New Orleans more or less said that the only people that are going to have weapons here are going to be law enforcement. You had a bunch of folks going out and seizing weapons from people that were just really not even doing anything. They were just sitting at home hoping they wouldn't have to defend themselves and beating the mess out of anybody who didn't comply. Now, there were laws passed after that happened to make it more difficult for it to happen again in the future because there was a huge firestorm after it happened. But once again, in the heat of a situation, there's no telling what people may try to do. Then one big threat that could cause firearm confiscation, at least kind of on a smaller scale, is going to be your red flag laws. Of course, the justification for those right now is to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people, folks like domestic abusers. But the way that some of those are written, there is a very real and legitimate concern that they could be misused. First off, they could see a social media post, take it the wrong way, then tell your local or county government that you're a threat, and next thing you know, you have the sheriff's department knocking on your door. Then also, there could just be reputation issues. Maybe you've expressed some views that some folks consider to be fringe where you live. They consider you to be a threat, and then knock, 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 here they are again wanting your guns. Then on top of that, guns are very easy to trace nowadays. Most of us have made a purchase from FFL where we had to go through a background check, we had to fill out a form 4473, and even though they might not be able to tell how many guns you have, if you've even done one, then they know that you at least have something which could draw attention to you. Then another thing that could be confiscated, and this happens very regularly, is land under eminent domain. If the county decides that they want to build a stinking highway through your property, then there's not a whole lot that you can do about that. Of course, they do have to provide you with just compensation for your land, but let's say that you're in your 70s. You've been building a homestead on your property for the past 30 years. That's really, really going to mess you up because there's probably things that you did when you were a whole lot younger, when you were setting up that homestead, that you just can't do anymore, or it'd be a whole lot harder to do so. So that could be a very big issue if you've been putting a lot of time, effort, and money into your land. Then after that is food, and this is where the government's really going to want to get the most bang for their buck, meaning that they're going to go after large-scale operations long before they start going after smaller things like individual or family food stockpiles. So some examples of larger stuff that they're going to be concerned about. First up is food production facilities. They're going to want to lock those down and control those. Also, warehouses. Near where I live, we have a couple of major retailers that have distribution centers. Those are going to be things that they want to get control of very early on. Then after that is large-scale agriculture. And with that, the bigger it is, the more of a concern that it's going to be. Now, eventually, they might work their way down to small family farms, wanting to control that land, wanting to control what's coming out of it. And then long after that will probably be individually held food stockpiles. And for that, like I said earlier, I would actually be more worried about a local or county government trying something with that than I would the federal government, but it can happen. Another thing to consider with food is that the FDA and the USDA have the ability to gain control over food that they deem to be unsafe. This is one of those things, again, where there's a lot of leeway there. So if, they know that you have a ton of rice and Mylar and buckets that's, 10 years old, then they can say, oh, well, that's expired. We wouldn't want anybody to get sick off of that. And they would have legal justification for taking that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Next up, we have water, and on the large scale side of things, you have water treatment facilities, you have reservoirs, public waterways, and all those are pretty much under government control anyway, but they could go after private, like commercial drink facilities, like places that make bottled water, sports drinks, sodas. I know that where I went to college, Budweiser had a facility, and during either Hurricane Rita or Hurricane Ike, that instead of producing beer, they started producing canned water to help with relief efforts. I don't know if that was something that they were forced to do or if it's just something that they did on their own, but the point is that any of those types of facilities could easily be repurposed to provide things like drinking water to a large quantity of people. Then on the smaller scale side of things, if you have like a very large water tank on your property, that might draw attention to you. Like, something that could hold like a few hundred or a couple thousand gallons. Then also, if you have a very substantial rainwater harvesting system on your property, then that could be something that piques their interest as well. Next up, we have medical items, and the big concern here is going to be stuff like pharmaceutical production facilities, also imports, which those are already controlled anyway, and then also places that manufacture personal protective equipment, cleaning supplies, and other stuff that would be vital during a health emergency. And one recent example of the government controlling those types of items was Executive Order 13910 back from 2020, which prevented the hoarding of health and medical resources. So I think that the situation where people are most likely to get on the government's radar with this is having a whole bunch of this stuff and then trying to sell it for a profit during the actual situation itself. While, there could be a situation where the government comes in and tries to raid your massive stockpile of acetaminophen or something like that, chances are you're going to have to do something like trying to sell those types of items before you really get on their radar. Then after that is going to be fuel. On the big side of things, you have wells and drilling platforms, you have tankers, you have refineries, basically anything that the government could use to secure or produce large quantities of fuel, oil, and other important items that they could use to keep planes, tanks, and trucks running. On the smaller scale side of things, though, you could have those larger fuel tanks that people have on like farms and ranches, kind of like what I talked about earlier. I don't really know if there's going to be too many situations where people are going to be rounding up, like gas cans in your backyard or anything like that. And I think that mainly has to do with the fact that most people really don't have a whole lot of that anyway. There's just rotation concerns, also safety issues that go along with it. So chances are that by the time people actually get that desperate, most folks are probably going to have run through most of their fuel stockpile anyway. Then after that is communications, and the government has a lot of leeway here. The Communications Act of 1934 gives the president the authority to either take over or shut down any wired or radio communication. So that means that they can take over local radio or TV stations, and the president can also shut down ham and amateur radio totally. That actually happened during World War II. So as far as, own personal private property being threatened, I think, if you have something like, GMRS radio shoved under your bed that you rarely ever use, then, that may or may not be a concern, because, if you have those and you're actively using them, you probably have a license, which those are traceable. But I think the real issue would be is if you have like a really nice ham radio set up and there's a huge antenna attached to your house, then that could draw attention to you, because if they're short on radios, they might see that and be like, resources we can use. But even with all this being said, there are real ways that you can protect yourself and your supplies. First off, rule number one, don't talk about what you have. That includes friends, coworkers, folks you go to church with, this, that, and the other. Most people get caught doing various things because they just open their mouths. My wife and I, we watch a lot of true crime, and there's a lot of those idiots that would have got away with it had they not started flapping their gums to somebody. Also, another thing you can do is don't buy too much stuff at one place. If you're wanting to buy a butt ton of rice or beans, then don't wipe out a store's entire, stock of that in one trip, because that's going to be like, what's this guy buying like 100 pounds of rice for from your local supermarket? Then another thing some people might not like me saying is being very careful shopping at membership or club stores, places like Sam's, Costco, because anytime that you buy something, you have to present your card, meaning that it's very easy for them to log and track the things that you are buying. Of course, they're going to say that's, so you can get targeted advertisements, this, that, and the other, but it would be incredibly easy for that to be used to say, oh, wow, this person's been, stockpiling food for years and years and years. There's no way they could have eaten it all, so, Then also, pay cash for things if you're buying in large quantities, or also if it's certain sensitive items like ammunition, because cash, while it's still around, is still a whole lot harder to track. Then after that, there are things that you can do that involve how you store specific items. First off, hide things in multiple places. That could be caches outside of your home, like you have a hunting property or a relative that you're planning on bugging out to anyway. Maybe they have some large property that you could keep some stuff there. Or even if it's just inside of your home, have your decoy supply in your pantry that, people are going to look at first, and then have stuff hidden, in closets, under beds. Because while they may be able to get a lot of stuff, they might not be able to get everything if you do a pretty good job of hiding it and spreading it out. But another really important thing that you can do to protect yourself is just build skills. Now, I'm not saying that you should totally, not stock supplies, this, that, and the other, and just rely on skills. I'm not saying that. Skills should be used to complement the supplies that you already have and give you the ability to overcome a potential loss of those supplies. So pretty much, any skill that could involve gathering, growing, or procuring food. Also skills that you can trade. If you're a medical worker, if you're a carpenter, if you're a mechanic, then you have skills that you could use to trade with other people, or also make yourself valuable to those in power. But while we like to talk about potential threats from different levels of government, the bottom line is that our supplies are just as likely to be threatened from those around us. So if you want to see places that you can hide your preps from thieves, marauders, looters, and other idiots like that, then click here. Or if you want to see defensive preps that everyone should have, then click here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.